A, this video is gonna get a lot of hate for obvious reasons, but what else is new? I think it's hilarious that every time I say that in the intro of a video, everyone's like, as soon as Ariel says she's gonna get a hate, we click the thumbs up button, so you might as well just go and do that now. Before we even get into the video, let's clarify a few definitions first. For this video, we are talking about transgender, and that is a person who experiences gender dysphoria regardless if they transition or not. Gender dysphoria being a brain-body mix-up, feeling like you're born in the wrong body, which it's really not gender dysphoria. If you think about it, it's actually sex dysphoria or sex characteristics dysphoria. So something is happening mentally and psychologically. Can we treat some people who experience gender dysphoria in the same way or in similar ways that we treat people with anxiety or depression? Not everybody who has a mental illness goes on medication for it. For some people, therapy is enough. And for those people who decide that medication or medical intervention is the best route for them, I would hope that they tried every other possible avenue before they resort to that. So today I have my friend Chad here who has experienced gender dysphoria and has chosen to not transition and has managed to cope with it through therapy alone. So tell everybody who you are.
My name is Chad Felix Green, and I'm a writer for The Federalist and The Post Millennial, and I'm a conservative, a gay conservative. I grew up as a transgender person, biologically male. My history from a child until my mid-30s was identical to just about everyone else who goes through the transition. I found a sense of peace and meaning in the body that I have instead of trying to obsessively create a new one.
Ariel from the future popping in real quick to remind you that this conversation is actually continuing over on slug.com/Ariel. It is where we can connect and not be afraid of being judged for what we have to say. There's not that many of you on that site, which is great because it gives me the opportunity to connect with you guys one-on-one. I answer every single post that is posted to that page. See you there.
Gender dysphoria for me was an intense belief as a child that if I were a girl, then my life would be easier. It would be really kind of who I was supposed to be. Really up until my mid-30s, I went through the therapy part of transition. I started going to a therapist in my early 20s to say I wanted to transition. They kind of talked me through it. They didn't let me make any rash decisions. So I never went on hormones. I never went through the physical process, never got there.
When you say gender, you mean gender roles and gender expectations of how a man and a woman should be, right?
Yes.
Because when I use the word gender, what I usually am referring to is someone's gender identity. So like the male, you know, if you're born male, but you feel that you are a woman internally, like there is some scientific proof that trans people's brains look different. I think it's important to note because a lot of gay kids, a lot of gays and lesbians go through that. Like there was a time in my life when I did the same thing, and I thought, I didn't think that I was a man, but I thought that it would have been easier if I was a man. Does that make sense? And I think a lot of kids that are now claiming to be trans that are gay and lesbian are not experiencing any type of gender dysphoria, like actual sex body dysphoria. They just are experiencing the fact that they're realizing they don't fit into stereotypical gender roles or the way we're supposed to express ourselves because of our sex. But the difference is that you did have sex dysphoria as well.
Yes.
So you had both, and I want to make that clear.
Watching other girls at school and thinking that's who I'm supposed to be. If I could just somehow will myself to physically look like those girls, then everything inside me would make sense. What it meant to be feminine as a physical expression of who I was.
Did you ever physically think, I don't like having a penis, or I want boobs, or I want, you know, more of a female look? Because that's where a lot of kids are getting this wrong. They're mistaking being masculine or feminine rather than being male or female, or wanting to be male or female. Like you can be the most butch girl in the whole world, and you could even look like a dude. Like there's plenty of women out there who like honestly can pass for dudes, but they have no desire to have a dick. They have no desire to have facial hair. They have no desire to have more oily skin or smell, you know, have testosterone running through their body. I think that's the major difference, and the difference between actual sex dysphoria and not fitting into gender stereotypes.
I never really identified my physical self. I never really identified with my genitalia. My body always sort of felt neutral. I could never find a physical form that made sense to me. And for my sex organs, I never really identified with them at all. I always felt that they were an unnecessary part of my body that I didn't have a use for.
So like for me as a woman, if I had, like, I have very small chest, and it makes me feel very uncomfortable that my chest is so small because it makes me feel more masculine naturally. I think most people would think that way. Would you feel less masculine if you did not have a penis? Like, it would just like not even bother you? You'd be like, whatever. Like, I do know some people that feel that way, which maybe is what non-binary is.
If something happened to me now and I was required to, have my genitalia removed entirely, to not have a vagina or a penis, I don't think either would necessarily impact me personally. If I were a kid right now, I would be identified as transgender and I would be put on puberty blockers
Immediately.
immediately to give me time to understand my body. In my mind, the solution was a new body.
Just because you relate socially and emotionally more to women doesn't mean you are a woman.
Right.
It doesn't mean you want doesn't mean you want a female body. And I think that's the most important message we could share with the people that are watching this, because I don't want, where you do have some actual sex dysphoria with your body. A lot of it also seems, in fact, more of it to me seems like it is just gender expectations and what you are expected to do and who you're expected to be as a man. Gay man, straight man, doesn't matter. As a man, you're expected to be a certain way.
If I had gone to a therapist and said, I think I would be much better as a woman, when I was a teenager, therapist at that point would have said, I think you just are confused about your social roles. I think that you want to connect to boys, don't know how. So you've said, well, I can be a better girl than I am a boy. You can still be a boy exactly the way you are. You don't have to be a stereotype of a man. And then I could have developed as I did, which is essentially what happened. Today, though, if a boy just like me tells their parents that they feel like they should be a girl, take them to a doctor, the doctor is going to say, your child is a girl. Let's stop the puberty right now, and let's make sure that nothing else develops, and then let's start affirming their identity.
You're literally living proof that what most people might think is gender dysphoria, it is actual, again, is just usually social expectations and gender expectation, gender roles, especially as, gay men and lesbian women. As far as the actual sex dysphoria that you have, with like the genitals that you said, you wouldn't care if you had either or whatever, it wouldn't really make you feel incomplete or complete. That you were lucky enough to, have therapy that you talk that through, right? And plus it's kind of just, I guess you're kind of like in limbo no matter what, because you're either way, if you went either way fully, you wouldn't be happy. So you found it's nice that you found peace with it without medical intervention.
I'm a very strong advocate against beginning any form of medical intervention in children or minors. I know that if someone had validated my feelings as a child and said, no, you are a girl. You're right. You should be a girl. That would have been a light bulb thing for me. That would have been this makes sense. This is who I am. This is going to work. This is what I need. But I don't know how that would have translated into becoming a teenager and an adult when I still didn't have control over my body. A unification between who I am up here and my physical body, regardless of which form it was in at the time.
Yeah, because which is what again, non-binary, in my opinion, if I were to agree with that term, which if this is the way that it's meant, I agree with that. If you don't feel comfortable as either sex fully, to me, with your body, you're in the middle of the binary, which is kind of what it is. Yeah.
I am trans.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think of transgender as this whole experience, because people with, I think, gender dysphoria is similar to anxiety or other overwhelming experiences that you have inside that you can't physically control or stop, but may be different in degrees of experience. What concerns me is this idea that gender dysphoria is a finite medical condition that once you're diagnosed, you have it and the treatment is the same for everybody. And I don't think that is true. And I don't see myself now as an ex-trans or somebody who cured their gender dysphoria. I see myself as living an option that transgender people today are not necessarily given.
We have to end the video on that note. That was like perfect. I will see you guys back here in a few days with a brand new video. Until then, I love you. Love yourselves. Bye.